Today, I'd like to talk to you about the very basics of selling, the fundamentals. I'm not talking about the demonstration, I'm talking about you. Over the years, you may have heard the expression that to be successful in selling, you sell yourself first and your product second. Now, this statement is probably more accurate in our business than any other business I can think of. It is vital to your overall success in our business. Now, the reason you have to do it so quickly is because that most people are going to decide within 10 to 15 minutes whether they like you or whether they don't. Now, obviously, if they like you and they think you're really a nice person, your job is going to be much, much easier. On the other hand, if they don't like you, you had better be awfully good, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be uphill the rest of the way. So let's discuss how you can make people like you. First of all, one of the most important things is your appearance. Now, I'm not saying that you men have to go out here in a Hickey Freeman suit, or you ladies have to have on a Christian Dior evening gown. I am saying to you, you have to be neat, you have to be clean, you need to have your shoes shined. You men, make sure your fingernails are clean, okay? Ladies, notice that. Above all, be sober. You can go into a home with one beer on your breath, and if they smell it, they're going to say, another drunken salesperson, okay? So be sober. Another tip, if you smoke, please leave your cigarettes in your car, okay? Put them over the visor. First of all, if you're doing your job properly, you don't have time to smoke. Secondly, here you are about to talk to these people about good, clean air, and you're puffing on a cigarette, okay? So again, a word of the wise, leave the doggone things in the car. The next thing that'll help you sell yourself, of course, is your attitude. And frankly, guys and gals, I could talk for another hour on that subject alone. It's a whole other subject. Suffice it to say that your attitude is 10 times more effective than your aptitude. And what I mean by that is that how you feel about yourself, about your job, about this demonstration will pretty well affect the outcome. And if you think positive thoughts, you're going to get positive results. Negative thoughts, negative results. So again, make sure you have a good, sound attitude. Put a big smile on your face. How in the world can anybody stay mad at you if you sit there and grin at them all night long, okay? So grin at them. Put a smile on your face. Be friendly. Be courteous. Be polite. Treat these people the way you would like to be treated if they were coming into your home, okay? Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to visit. And I'm talking about just plain conversation. Talking with those people, not about why you came there, but just about anything in general. And you need to do this at least 10 to 15 minutes. And that's a long time, longer than you might think. But I'm going to tell you something. It's the most important 15 minutes of your entire presentation, and it really is. You may have heard the expression that a good salesperson is a good talker, and that's true. But they're also very good listeners. The problem is, before you can listen, you have to get the people talking. So how do you visit? First of all, I try to ask questions that can't be answered with a simple yes or a no or a grunt. But let's start with when the customer actually opens the front door. Now, by the way, you notice I said customer, because if you do these things right, they will be a customer within an hour or two, okay? Now, it doesn't matter to me whether it's the man or the woman that answers the front door. I always stick out my hand and say, "Hi, Mrs. Jones, I'm Doug Cunningham. I'm the guy who was supposed to stop by tonight. Is your husband home? Wonderful. I'd like to step in a minute if I'm welcome." Now, if Mr. Jones was standing right behind her and heard this entire thing, as a matter of courtesy, I introduce myself all over again. "Hi, Mr. Jones, I'm Doug Cunningham. I'm the guy who was supposed to stop by tonight. How you doing anyway?" Fantastic. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start asking them some questions. And I have a little, almost like a programmed speech, I guess, I go through. I start by saying, boy, you folks sure have a nice looking home here. This thing is beautiful. It's gorgeous. Have you lived here long? No kidding. Are you originally from Detroit or this part of the country? Oh, you're not? Where are you from originally? No kidding. What made you decide to move to Detroit? Oh, your job. Well, that's great. What kind of work do you do anyway, Mr. Jones? Is that right? How long have you been over there? 15 years? What, you couldn't find a steady job? By the way, Mrs. Jones, do you work? Now, let me interrupt you here for a second, interrupt myself, I guess. One of the things you want to do, or not to do, is don't talk to just the wife and ignore the husband, or vice versa. Nobody likes to be ignored. Get them both involved in your conversations, okay? Don't ignore them. Now, another thing I try to do is I am going to try very, very hard to give these people a compliment of some sort. And the reason being, if you give someone a compliment, if it's a sincere compliment, they want to do something nice back to you. For example, if I say to you, boy, that's a great looking suit, you look dynamite today. You're going to say, well, thank you. You look nice too. It's just a normal, natural type of reaction. Now, it has to be sincere. You can't be phony. The world hates a phony. But what I try to do is I try to be very, very observant. When I get out of the car, man, I am looking around for something that I can talk about once I get inside. It might be their lawn. I might, if it's manicured nicely, I might see a motorhome or a camper. That's great things to talk about. If the garage door is open, I might see golf clubs. I might see fishing equipment. I can see anything in the world that gives me something to talk about once I'm inside, okay? For example, how many times have you driven down a street and you see a lawn, looks like it's just been manicured? Well, if you happen to have an appointment at a house like that, for goodness sakes, mention it when you get inside. And I would normally do something like this. I said, boy, I noticed your yard, it's fantastic. Who spends all the time out there? You do, Mr. Jones? Man, it's great, it's beautiful. You know, it really looks nice. What was that red-looking flower I saw? Or something along those lines. And again, the idea is to get these people talking. If I can find something they like to talk about, believe you me, they'll talk.
All right, the first reason, of course, we're here today is to give y'all the gift. The second reason I'm here is to tell y'all a little bit more about our company. Now, I'd like for y'all to take a look at our product, and I'm going to do everything I can here today to get y'all to feel the same way about the product as I do. And I'm going to show y'all some reasons why I feel like everybody should be using one in their home today. Now, the third reason, the third thing that I want to talk to y'all about is an opportunity that our company has. Now, the reason our company has this opportunity is because the company is growing tremendously right now. In fact, we're getting so big, we've just opened an office in Korea. Because of this growth, we need some good men and women, and even some husband and wife teams, that maybe need to earn some extra money. Now, what this has done for a lot of people is there's a lot of times people have trouble making ends meet at the end of the month. They have trouble being able to pay all of their bills. And there's a lot of times maybe people just want to be able to afford some of the nicer things in life, like maybe a new home for their family or a new car, or even be able just to take their family on a nice vacation. Well, with this opportunity, it gives you a chance to come in and maybe earn anywhere from $100 to $300 a week extra just doing this part-time. Now, I want y'all to watch what I'm going to do here for y'all today, because I really have a lot of fun with this. And y'all, this is one of the easiest ways I have ever seen for you to be able to make extra money. Okay, and you remember the gift that I just gave to you. Well, you seemed like you really liked it, and it seemed like it was going to be something you were going to be able to get a lot of use out of. Well, what I need for you to do, I'm going to give both of y'all a sheet of paper, and I need for you just to write down the first name of all of the friends you can think of that you'd like to receive one of these nice gifts. Now, all I need is their first name, and it can be anybody. It could be somebody maybe you go to church with, somebody that you work with, maybe even some of your neighbors. While y'all are putting down the first names, I'm going to start getting my things ready so I don't take up a lot of your time this evening.
The giving of the gift sets the stage or it sets the mood in the presentation. And I'd like to focus on a couple of areas today. And first of all, before we do that, I'd like to talk to you about the purpose of a gift. And the purpose of a gift, it's easier to get appointments that way. And it just is. I mean, if you give the gift and you can get a better appointment. The better the gift, the better the appointment. You also get a better hold-up rate. If you don't give a gift, they may not come. If you give a gift, you've got a much better chance of them being there. And the quality of the gift makes the hold-up even better. It does something else, too, and I think that perhaps we forget what it does, and it bonds the dealer to the customer. And that bonding process will carry itself throughout the presentation. When that dealer gives the customer a gift, that gift bonds them. And, you know, for hundreds and thousands of years, people give gifts to people because it obligates them. It grabs a hold of them. And, you know, the Greeks did the horse and so forth. Well, the purpose, we know of the gift. Now, I'd like to focus in two areas, and that is the selection of the gift and the presentation of the gift. And when we select gift, we need to understand that when we select a gift, we're going to select something that has a trade-off. It's a trade-off for time. We're going to give them something in exchange for. And the value of what we're giving will show up in the way they receive it. If we give too little, if I say to you folks, hey folks, tell you what, I'd like to come out and see you folks this evening, and I have a number 2 lead pencil, and this is good for doing things that you have to run through computers because the number 2 lead is great. I mean, I have a rough time selling that. So that's too little of a value of a gift, and therefore I lose. If we give something that's equal, then it's a tie, and if I give them a gift that's equal to the hour and a half I'm going to spend there, then we're on equal footing. If I give something that's really great and it's more value, they're receiving more value than the time that I'm taking from them, then we win and we get boot. You know, they owe us in a sense. If you give the lead pencil, you're in trouble. If you tell them that you're going to give them a 1991 Cadillac, obviously your hold-up's going to be pretty good on that. You know, you just don't really have a heck of a lot of trouble on that. And so, but somewhere it's got to be in between that. The second stage is the presentation. And the presentation after you select the gift is so important. The presentation, we all know this, but I'm as guilty as this as anybody. We forget sometimes to teach it to the people that need to understand it, and that is the presentation is a demo of the gift, rather, is a demo within the demo, and it needs to be taught like the light needs to be taught or like the water wash needs to be taught. And if we sell that to the dealer, I know that a lot of our offices use the gifts and they sell them and give them away to the people in their training class, and they sell them on it so that they then can take it into the home. The presentation of the gift properly to begin with sets the stages of the demo. It also enables you at the end of the presentation when you say to the folks, let me ask you a question, Victor, if I gave you a dozen of these, could you find a dozen friends to give them to? And he says yes. And the way and the power that he will say yes will be determined by the power of the presentation that was given initially in the beginning of the demo. And if we can do it that way, then that power of the close, when the customer says, yes, I like that gift, and I then use that as a lead procurement device getting into my leads. There's no free lunch in this business, and the sooner or the better that we understand that we're in charge of the selection of the gifts and the presentation of the gifts, the better off we'll be. And at the end, we'll have more leads, a better rate of close, and we'll all make more money. Thank you.
Instead of using people to get things, I started using things to win people. When Tom asked me to talk about talent scouting, I said, Tom, you're catching me at the right time. And the reason that I said that is I had a young guy named Mike Sprott. He was in Ocala. Mike had been struggling. He'd been out karting, working hard, but he just couldn't, the first 3 months, he just couldn't turn you know, that deal around. He started out, he did a good job in Gainesville, earned a promotion, but Mike was out karting one day, and he passed down a card to a young lady named Dana Cruz. Dana took an appointment. Mike demonstrated the equipment to her. She decided that she was going to come in to the Rainbow business. Her first month, she brought 14 other people in, 7 of which sold. Mike, in his first 3 months in the Rainbow business as a distributor, averaged 8 deals a month, mainly personals, out of his office. In the first 8 weeks after this young lady joined him, she was responsible for over 20 people and over 100 sales. He went from 8 sales to 40 sales to last month. He was over 60 sales, and the last that I heard, he was already at 33 people. What does one person mean to a deal? I can remember when Leon Marrow came across a person named Joanne Collier. I can remember when Dan Engelking came across Kathy Fowler. And I can remember in Paul and my career that every time we had a significant increase in business, it was all related to one person coming in. How valuable is a Joanne Collier? How valuable is a Kathy Fowler? And because of the significance of that, you and I have to take a very serious attitude towards recruiting. I have a young man, and when you've been in the business 20 years, that's a long time. His name's Eli Vate. He started with Paul and I in Wheeling, West Virginia in 1971. Eli Vate has been with us 20 years and sold over 2,000 machines. Out of that 2,000 machines, I guess I've netted about $200 a machine. If you were to add that up, that's $400,000 off one person. My father worked, first of all, for the Army for 22 years, and then he worked in civil service for over 20 years. In his entire lifetime, he didn't make $400,000. The key to recruiting is to make sure that every single person that has seen a demonstration in the home gets offered the Rainbow opportunity. And to me, there's only one way to assure that, is for somebody in the office, preferably the distributor or a top-notch person, to offer the opportunity to the customer at the end of the demonstration. Second best way, if you're not going to do that, the second best way is to verify every appointment the next day. And the person that verifies the appointment makes sure that all the things that were supposed to happen in that demo, did you get the gift? Did they talk to you about the lead program? Did they offer the opportunity? The third way, I think, is the way most of us do it, and we wonder why our recruiting program isn't taking off, and that is, hey, Johnny, were they interested in the opportunity? No, Mike, they weren't. How do you know it was really offered? It's a quote that goes like this: it's not what you expect that gets done, it's only what you inspect that gets done. Reasons for recruiting. In March of 1971, if I didn't make a sale, I went home and didn't make any money. It's one person. If I had a bad week, I had a bad week. If I had a bad month, I had a bad month. And in March of 1991, in Jacksonville alone, I had 326 chances to make money. The reason we recruit is more money. In 1971, the only security I had was myself. If myself was sick, I didn't have much security that week. And in March of 1991, I can get sick, I can go on trips, and my income varies very little. Better retention. The greatest statement I heard on retention is this: you tie somebody to somebody else that they make money on, and you'll never lose them. You tie somebody to somebody else, and you'll never lose them. Isn't that true? Somebody's getting Talent Scout points. I want to tell you something. You can't run them off with a stick. You get a dealer that or you get a distributor that has 8 or 10 people in the organization. I want to tell you something. They're not going anywhere. Retention is directly tied to how many people that person is making money off of. Fourth reason is better coverage. In Jacksonville, in 18 or 19 years we've been there, we've sold 50,000 rainbows. And I will tell you this, if you're in a town and you're doing a big job, we have 5 offices there. As you go along, the recruiting program is going to become more evident to you to get the proper coverage. Let me tell you why. There is only a select group of people that will respond to a card passed out at the door. There is only another select, and it's a bigger group, that will respond to a referral. But we can get into every single neighborhood in Jacksonville through the recruiting program. It can get us into the upper neighborhoods that we're not even allowed to register in. It will get us into any neighborhood. Every mother and dad, every aunt and uncle will look at the machine if Johnny's in the business.
Everybody I talk to, I just absolutely expect them to give me leads, and I think you should too. Because if you look at it this way, we go into the house, we're dressed nice, we're very professional, we show them an outstanding product, we have a lot of fun, we do everything in the home that we should do. So when I'm finished, whether they buy or not, I really expect the people to give me some leads. And if you'll start expecting everyone to give you leads, that will help you bring leads out of every house. The next thing that I think is important in getting leads out of the house is you have to ask for them at every house. So many times I've seen people go into a home and they didn't get leads because maybe they didn't think the customer or the non-customer, whichever it was, wouldn't give them good leads. My suggestion is that if you go ahead and get all the leads and then you decide whether they're good or not. There's been an awful lot of leads that have been left in the house because we've made decisions not to get those. So the second step is that I think you have to expect leads and you have to ask for leads in every single house. Another thing that I think is important is ask for more than you want. If you're looking for 6 or 8 leads out of a home, why not ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones for 10, 12, or 15? Usually what's going to happen, you may come up a little short. But more times than not, you're going to get the 12 or 15 that you want. If you do come up short of the 12 or 15, you're still going to end up getting the 6 to 8 that you want. So I think that you should ask for more leads than you really need or want. Another reason I think that the thing that you can do is sometimes you have to give people reasons to give you leads. You know, obviously every home we go into, Mr. and Mrs. Jones doesn't volunteer to give us a lot of leads. I think there's reasons that they do that, but I also think we can give them reasons to give us leads. For an example, I know many times I'll start getting leads by saying, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I need for you to do me a real big favor. Now, I don't need for you to co-sign a loan or I don't need to borrow any money, but let me explain what I mean by that. You see, I've had a great time here tonight, but as soon as I leave this house, Mrs. Jones, I'm technically unemployed. So see, I think you're the last lady in the world that will want to be responsible for me being unemployed, Mrs. Jones. So what I need is for you to give me the names of about 10 or 12 people that I can go talk to that'll give me their opinion of the rainbow. Now, I think if you give Mrs. Jones a reason, another thing that you can do is let her know how important it is to you. Mrs. Jones, this is the way I make a living. And again, when I leave here, if I don't have places to go, I'm out of business, Mrs. Jones, and I just can't afford to be out of business, so I really do need your help. And I've found in my career, if you ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones to do you a favor and help you, they will do that. But sometimes you just got to give them reasons to do it. And you'll be surprised how many times they'll give you plenty of names. Now, another thing that I think helps in getting names is after you expect them, and after you ask for them, and after you ask for a lot of them, and then after you give reasons that they should give them to you, I think that you need to just ask for the names first. You know, it's really funny, if Mr. and Mrs. Jones or our customers or non-customers, whatever they turn out to be, if they get the idea that we're going to ask 15 to 20 questions on every name, I think they'll tend to give you 3 or 4 names. But if Mrs. Jones feels she just has to give you 10 or 12 names, you're going to get her mind thinking, and she's going to give you a lot of names, and you're going to end up with a lot of good leads. And I think at this point, you know, ask for the names only. And then if you run out of names, the power of suggestion works every single time. Mrs. Jones, how about the lady next door? Mr. Jones, how about the gentleman across the street? How about the people that you go to church with? How about the people you bowl with? Who works next to you at the plant? And if you start suggesting things, people will acquaint names with those suggestions, and you will end up with a pretty good list of names. Now, at this point, those are just names, but the last step in this 6-step procedure is turning those names into actual good leads. And what I mean by that is get plenty of information. And I think by information, what I mean is I want to know their first names, I want to know their last name, I want to know their address, I want to know as much about those people as I can. I want to know the kids' names, I want to know the dogs' names, I want to know where they went on vacation, I want to know what Mr. Jones' hobbies are, I want to know what Mrs. Jones' involvement is at school. I want to know as much as I can about this family, because when you walk into a home with that lead, and you can start talking to that family like you've known them for 5 or 10 years, boy, you build a rapport right away that will help you in the end of that demonstration when you ask for that order. So I really think if you use those 6 steps right there, you'll find that you'll get a lot of leads out of the house.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the vac knock and the parts of the vac knock that create the need for the equipment. And that is the need to have something different to clean your home with. If we go into the home and we don't pull their vacuum sweeper out, and we don't do a vac knock on their particular cleaner, then in the back of their mind, they automatically think, my cleaner will do the job. The problem I have, and the reason my carpets aren't clean, is simply because I haven't vacuumed. But the first thing that we have to do during the vac knock, of course, is to get their cleaner.
Now, Lisa, if we went down the street and we asked 100 people what made one vacuum sweeper better than the other, what would they always say the better one had more of?
Suction.
Nice suction. You know, they pick up bowling balls, they hang the kids from the ceiling, they rip off the wall paneling, anything to show you they got more suction than somebody else. But Andy, what if I were to tell you that suction had absolutely nothing to do with the ability to clean? Would that surprise you at all?
Yes, it would.
Yeah, it shocked me when I heard it, but I wouldn't say something like that if I couldn't prove it to you. What I want to do, let's take a hose and hook it to the rainbow. All right, and let's talk about suction for a minute. All right, put your hand on there and feel that suction. Feel it, Lisa?
Yeah.
That's what they pick up the bowling balls with and hang the kids from the ceiling and things like that. But one sound they don't seem to talk to you about is this sound right here. This is called airflow. That's air traveling through the hose at high speed. Put 2 fingers in there and you can feel that. All right, can you feel it, Lisa? All right, so this is suction and this is airflow. Now, when you have suction, you have no airflow. And when you have airflow, you have